Good evening. I'd like to take another dive into my book, Surrender or Explode, Learning to Play the Game of Life God's Way. And tonight I'd like to talk about the title of the book. I've been asked many times, where did that title come from? What does that title mean? And it can be a little confusing if you don't understand the perspective from which I look at the title. Oftentimes, we're pretty clear when we hear the word surrender and we think failure, defeat, taking captive. But then when I say surrender or explode, exploding is not necessarily positive or fun or victory. So it almost could seem as though the title itself is confusing simply because neither option is an option that a video game player would want. And remember, this book compares life to video games, and you want to be successful by winning. But I've been told many times, but surrendering or exploding aren't really winning. What are you talking about, Dr. V? So let me break it down. When you think about video games, you know as well as I do that you advance from one level to the next. You also know that an expert created the game, created the traps, created the design, created the challenges inherent in the games. Well, the video game expert can be compared to God, the sovereign, absolute authority in life, who created life, humanity, creation, and all. And when we compare those two expert creators, we have to ask ourselves, who do we think genuinely has the most power and authority? The video game expert creates the design of the game, gives you options to create your own characters, and any player who wants to play the game can play. Not so in life. Because God, the absolute sovereign authority, makes those decisions and then offers himself as the expert to lead us through the challenges that he has created, and he's available 24/7. Now, the video game expert is probably not ever available other than reading the directions in the box. But God, the sovereign, absolute expert of life, is always available if we will seek him. Now, let me go back to surrender or explode. When you surrender in a video game, you're usually losing. Likewise, when you surrender in a video game, likewise, when you explode in a video game, you're usually losing. But in a game of life, when we choose to surrender to God, we actually win. That's the victory. Doesn't mean life won't have challenges. Doesn't mean every day will be sunshine and beautiful and we'll have a blast. But it means we won't have to go it alone. And it means that God is available to teach us the lessons that we need to learn to climb to the top of the leaderboard in life. And it's up to us to say, yes, God, or to say, no, thanks, I got this. I don't need your help or assistance. And there are many people who do it their own way. And those people may not look like they're exploding. As I was told in an interesting quote recently, sometimes falling feels like flying until you smack and hit the ground. So everyone may not look like they're exploding, but they may be exploding in ways that we can't see. But back to the title. You, me, everyone in life gets to make that choice. And it's up to us to decide whether we want to learn the lessons at each level that we need to learn in order to advance to the next level. It's up to us. No one will make us. God won't make us. The video game expert won't make us. It's up to us to make the choice. And in the book, there are 5 levels of advancement from beginner to the leaderboard. The first level is entitled Don't Get It Twisted, because there's so many basic fundamentals in life that we as human beings get twisted all the time. For example, why were we born into a particular family? Why is our dad and our mom are mom? Or why is our dad gone and our mom's not gone? Or why, what happened? We ask those questions as though we have a right to question and challenge where we are, why we're there, when we are not the creator or expert of anything. But if we seek God and surrender as we grow, He will allow us to understand more and more why things are set in place by Him the way we were. I had an adolescent group just a few days ago, and I asked them to look at the parts of who they are that they like and compare those to the parts of who they are that they don't necessarily like so much. And that if they could, they would change them. And at the end of the day, they came to realize that even some of the parts that they don't like so much about the way they were made either isn't that big of a deal, or if they work on it, they could change it. And I could take some extreme case examples and talk about why people are born the way they're born. And I could look at it in terms of, oh my goodness, that's so horrible. Or I could look at that in terms of, what might God be up to? And that's another level in the book, the level called perspective. Because sometimes we look at our lives and the lives of other people from a single perspective that may completely miss God's perspective and what He's up to. So sometimes we've got to get out of our own comfort zone in terms of what we thought or what we expected or what we wanted, and seek after God to say, God, what are you up to in terms of why my life looks this way or that way? And try to get in line with Him to fulfill the plans and purposes that He has for our lives. Another level of the book talks about when the culture and God are in conflict. Because there are lessons from God that He would have us learn that are contrary to the lessons that culture is trying to teach all of us, not just youth. And we have to make a decision in terms of who is the authority in our life. I ask the question, who's your boss? Simple as that. Is the culture your boss or is God your boss? Does the culture decide what you believe and do, or does God decide what you believe and do? And let me throw this caveat in right now. This book isn't for everybody. Everybody won't want to read this book or learn these lessons. But the question still remains, and the option, surrender or explode, are still available. And we each have to make that decision. So I want to remind the game changers that the Super Sunday's coming. I want to remind the game changers to get your groups together. I want to remind the game changers that you're not going to have to figure this out on your own. I'm going to walk you through the levels with a blueprint to help you effectively teach the lessons in this book in whatever setting you choose. Remember, this is not just a Super Sunday event for churches. It's an event for any adult game changers who want to touch the lives of the youth that they encounter in a positive and constructive way. So stay tuned. There's more blueprint to follow. Check out my Surrender or Explode Game Changer book. Go to my Surrender or Explode website. There are more details already available, and there are more details to come. So I'm excited. Get excited with me. Let's kick off Super Sunday, November 20th for 5 weeks, and let's walk our young people through the 5 levels of my book, Surrender or Explode, learning to play the game of life God's way. Thank you.